Ladies and gentlemen, there are two big news that I'm announcing today and one announcement that is important for you to listen. So let's just watch on and see what are these big news. So Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell has just made an announcement yesterday, and the outlook look like there will be interest rate cuts coming. And I will be giving an important update on the Middle East situation as well as a important announcement for a talk that's happening this evening at around 8 p.m. As usual, these are my disclaimers. These are not financial advice. Remember, hit subscribe because things are happening on the fly. You don't want to miss them. So hit subscribe and remember, turn on the notification bell. So tonight at around 8 p.m., Sam Ree from Endowus, Chief Investment Officer, will be coming. We'll be talking about the current situation across the world in terms of the tariffs and also for the Middle East situation. And also, more importantly, what I want to find out was the global bonds opportunity, what to invest, what not to invest in. I'll be seeking his advice and I'll be happy for you guys to join in. We'll be firing a big shot today. So remember to join us for live stream. So hit subscribe and the notification. And remember, when the live stream turns on, hit thumbs up so more people can get to watch it. Now, everyone who are lucky enough to turn on live stream, and if you don't hit the thumbs up, other people may not get to do it. Now, it might be you that are not getting the notification, so someone else will have to turn on his thumbs up so that you get to watch on. So remember, hit thumbs up the minute you come into a live stream. So let's all talk about the interest rate situation. So U.S. Federal Reserve Jerome Powell gave an announcement of the FOMC meeting, and he's keeping the interest rate unchanged, and that's despite a very fierce Trump's criticism. Now, although interest rate is not cut now, but they foresee two possible rate cuts this year. The Federal Reserve on Wednesday kept interest rates steady amidst of the expectation of higher inflation and lower economic growth rate. Still pointed to two possible rate cuts. In this SEP, Summary of Economic Projection, which the Federal Reserve Open Market Committee members actually form, uh, they actually project what they think is the outlook for the interest rate cuts, the inflation, GDP, unemployment, and so on. So the core CP inflation, they do project a slight increase to about 3% instead of the previous projection at March, which is 2.8%. So this is, of course, caused by largely the tariff situation. Real GDP is expected to fall marginally, but at least not in the recessionary environment. So it's going down. So and unemployment is expected to stay somewhat steady. Now, this is a stagflationary fear. You can see that. So inflationary plus recessionary, so they call it stagflationary fear. So economic slowdown plus inflation is something that nobody likes to see because you increase the interest rate, okay, you cause to fight inflation, you cause the GDP to go down worse. If you drop the interest rate to stimulate the GDP, you cause the inflation to get worse. So this is a no-win situation. All Federal Reserve and central bank hate this kind of environment. Now, in terms of the rate cut dot plot, which means that they do a prediction of the interest rate, is actually quite diverse. Although the average turns out to be two interest rate cut, but seven FOMC members, Federal Reserve Open Market Committee members, see zero rate cut this year, two see one rate cut, eight see two rate cuts, and two see three rate cuts. So kind of blended, it's two. But the truth is, when you see a number that's so dispersed, it basically means that a lot of people have different opinion. And the long and short of it is that they expect it to be higher for longer. This is not a good sign. Now the dot went beyond this year to next year. So next year they're expecting future rate cut to be even lesser. So I think right now we are not looking very good in terms of the future for 2026 and 2027. But that said, it's too far out. It's very difficult to say. I wouldn't think too much about the dot plot that's looking much forward. So in the news conference, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell actually said that there is time to wait for more clarity. For the time being, we are well positioned to wait to learn more about the likely course of the economy before considering any adjustments to our policy. So basically what he's saying is that the economy is still reasonably strong, and the inflation situation is not so bad right now. There are enough room in the interest rate for us to cut if necessary, and it's high enough to kind of curtail any kind of inflationary expectation. So he thinks that he's in a well placed situation. Now, of course, the conflict between Israel and Iran adds another wildcard to the policy mix, with the prospect of a higher energy prices, a potential additional factor in keeping the Federal Reserve from cutting rates. Now, so all these are factors that are playing, and I don't envy his situation in trying to predict what will happen. So Donald Trump again very angry that Jerome Powell has not cut interest rate. He slams Jerome Powell and his colleagues for not easing the interest rate. So he said that the Federal Reserve rate should be at least 2% down, and call Powell as stupid. Wow, that's very rude, right? For not pushing the committee to cut. Federal Reserve officials has been reluctant to move, fearful that the tariffs that Donald Trump implemented this year could cause inflation in the incoming months. So this is something that Donald Trump has caused himself, caused fear. So the Federal Reserve is just responding to what Donald Trump said, and Donald Trump only have himself to blame. Recent labor data do show that layoffs are creeping higher, long-term unemployment is rising, consumer is spending less, so retail sales have tumbled by nearly 1%, and there's a cooling housing market. So all these are basically telling the market that things are not doing quite well. And my guess is that I don't think it'll be inflationary. I don't think it'll be inflationary because Donald Trump so far has been playing bluff. Okay, they call it taco, right? Which is Trump always chicken out. So it's not that inflationary, and he caused so much fear that the whole market has somewhat depressed. So my guess is that there is very little inflation rate, but it's hard to say at this juncture. Well, Donald Trump's biggest concern is that if the interest rate is kept higher, the cost of the issuing the government debt to finance its budget deficit is going to be somewhat very high. In fact, this year, the interest on the debt alone is on track to be $1.2 trillion and exceeds all other budget items except Social Security and Medicare. So this is something that the government is very concerned with. That's why it's asking the Federal Reserve to lower the interest rate. So we shall see whether this will happen eventually this year. So meanwhile, the S&P 500 kind of hover flat. So did the Nasdaq hover about flat. The TLT went up by a little. We think that market is all still on a wait and see kind of approach. So the futures market today for Nasdaq looks like it's down 0.5%. The S&P 500 is also down by about 1/3%. Now switching topic to Middle East right now. So Donald Trump has approved Iran's attack plan, says insider, but has not made the final decision. That means that, okay, if I were to attack, this will be the plan, but I haven't decided whether to attack yet. So that is one step now closer to Armageddon. Though Donald Trump specifically asked their advisor whether the US bombs can really destroy Iran's Fordow nuclear facility. So the key question is that I drop one or two 30,000-pound bomb onto a nuclear facility. Will it or will it not destroy the nuclear facility? This is called bunker buster bombs, okay, also known as MOP, maximum ordnance penetrator, are in the arsenal, and Israel does not have these bombs. So it's buried right now deep inside the bunker, and I'll show you in a diagram. So right now, the Iranian Fordow nuclear facility is about 300 feet plus minus, and can go deep inside about 200 feet. That bomb called GBU 57. The rest of it is not quite enough. So it can reach a depth of 20-story building underground, but the Fordow nuclear facility is much deeper than that. So it needs two bombs to go in at the same hole, right? So the question right now is that can this be executed well? So the officials at Pentagon actually told Donald Trump that they believe that the bomb will work, but Donald Trump is not so sure yet. And these bombs are only used in tests and not in actual combat. So it's a one big question mark. The Israelis have told the US officials that even though they could not dismantle Fordow with bombs, they could do it with humans if necessary. So let's see what will happen. So with all this information, Donald Trump privately has approved the attack plans, but we hold a final order. And on his usual, what I call strategic ambiguity, Trump said, "I may not do it. I may do it. I may not do it." And then he basically says that Iran needs to have unconditional surrender. So this week will be very big, maybe less than a week time. So it's something, just send a lot of ambiguous signal and confuse his opponent. So Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei actually said that his country wouldn't surrender and warned any US military intervention would bring irreparable consequences. And by the way, they are also asking, what do you mean by unconditional surrender? Surrender of what? Surrender of country? Surrender of the nuclear facility? Surrender of what, right? Again, when they try to clarify, Donald Trump is unconditional surrender means unconditional surrender, so it's basically sending a lot of ambiguity again. So opinion from Axios is a news agency specialized in this kind of area. So Israeli officials believe that the US will eventually join the war and assist with the destruction of the Fordow facility, because in some sense it's to their favor as well. One option will be a commando raid against the nuclear facility by Israeli special forces, similar to the operation seen last year when Israel forces raid and destroy an underground missile factory on the north of Syrian capital of Damascus. So US officials say that Israel told Donald Trump that while they may not be able to reach deep enough with bombs, they may do it with humans. So my prediction, more like a guess. This kind of thing can never predict. More like a guess. My guess is this, okay? Donald Trump will play with Iran, okay, giving ambiguous statements and flip-flopping, frustrating the Iranians. Iranians end up Tao Gong Gong, don't know what the hell he's talking about and things like that. And they're all preparing for just in case, the bombs will come. Meanwhile, I think the Israeli will launch a commando raid on this nuclear facility. This will be very high risk for Israeli, but the US got no risk, okay? And my guess is this: Donald Trump does not want to get US involved with wars that are money losing. He's just very money faced. So this one, no upside for him. Get involved for what? Okay, yeah, all downside in terms of either human lives, military risk, money risk, everything. So my guess is, if possible, he don't want to get involved. Okay, so he's going to leave it to the Israeli to sort it out. This is my guess. We shall see whether this will play out. So these are all exciting times. So let's watch on very carefully and see whether this will come to pass. And remember, join us tonight in the 8 p.m. Live stream with Endowus. Again, right? You want to hit subscribe and a notification. I'll see you tonight. Bye bye.